Hello, and how is everybody, everybody doing tonight over on YouTube? Yes, it is Saturday night and we are on live. Not from the typical Fridays that I've been doing, but I've been pretty busy this week with my real life job. It's been very, very packed. A lot of hard work, a lot of exhaustion, but we've kind of got everything settled down here. So tonight is a special Saturday night stream, and we are going to talk about a few things tonight, things of interest of this entire week. Starting, we're going to talk about Kathleen Kennedy. She's leaving Lucasfilm, or is she? We're going to talk about the Assassin's Creed leak. We're going to talk about Dragon Age is free, and trying to make sure, and there might be a possibility we may talk about some GTA depending on the time that's going on with it, and maybe look at the Trump Zelensky thing if we've got time. Kind of had everything planned out, and it's kind of changed here and there in the meantime for the stream. So just kind of bear with me because I'm pretty much going to come across like this tonight.
I'm retarded?
Yeah, pretty much for the most part. Oh, hey, King. We got King in the chat. What's up, King? You have a job? Wow. I thought you were just a dumpster diver who dives for game store dumpsters for free games and accessories. Hey, man. Don't. Hey, man. You gotta keep it. You gotta keep it down low, right? Keep it down low. And we got Stalking in. What's up, Stalking? Hey, appreciate you guys hopping in here on the YouTube stream on a Saturday night. Look at that. Everybody's here. Everybody's here. And hopefully, we'll have more people hop in. But don't forget, as before we get started, don't forget, like the stream. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. We have a goal here now. We have a goal to hit monetization. So that way I can get that sweet, sweet internet money. Sweet, sweet, delicious internet money that I will have to claim on taxes and I will see very little of. Get the super chats to where YouTube will get their 30% cut. And then if you're doing a super chat on an iPhone, they have to take their cut too. That's the main goal we're going with. But pretty much been a rough work week. Had to tear down these huge pieces. Had to rebuild them, box them all up, get them ready for ship out. I mean, to kind of give you an idea, right now, 41 boxes of these giant things like seats, furniture seats. Just to kind of give you an idea of the size of it. And I'm in a tiny little showroom. We don't have a warehouse. We just have your normal retail back room. So imagine having to have a back room just packed full of big boxes. It's been pretty much a harrowing adventure. And it turns out I may have to go 2 hours north of where I'm at, and I have to do it for another store maybe, but I'm crossing my fingers. But that will be later in the week. But I have gotten, of course, the rewards of my labor. Cuts on my hands, bruises, all of that stuff. But you can't see it too well because apparently, like Wolverine, I heal quick. King says, I thought your goal was to get to woman. Hey man, baby steps. Baby steps. If we throw all of our goals on the table, we're not going to achieve all of them. So it's all baby steps. All baby steps. All right. So yeah, we got a few things that I'm wanting to discuss tonight. We're going to get going with that. We're going to go ahead and get started. And the first thing that we're going to go ahead and talk about tonight And man, again, oh, and by the way, I still don't have a name for this. I don't even know what to call this. Still a work in progress. So until I can come up with a name for this, so that way it has branding to it, it just is what it is. But let's go ahead and talk off about Kathleen Kennedy. Yeah, there has been like all kinds of things about Kathleen Kennedy this week. And we can start off earlier in the week where it was reported that she was leaving Lucasfilm. Now, this has been a thing for the last 5 years that she was leaving. She was going to be fired. She was retiring. And when this news came out, it pretty much, my same thought process happened the last couple of times it was announced. Yeah, right. That lady is not leaving Lucasfilm. Regardless of the amount of failures that she has kind of demonstrated with her leadership ever since the sequel movies, she couldn't capture that magic that Lucas could with Star Wars, and there was reasons for that, but pretty much it was reported that she was going to be leaving towards the end of the year, and that's what got out. And much like myself, there were other people saying, "Yeah, whatever. Don't set your your hopes real high on it." But then there was another question that comes with that too. If she's leaving, who's going to replace her? Who is going to replace Kathleen Kennedy over at Lucasfilm? Two names automatically popped up just right off the bat. Kevin Feige, who's running Marvel, and Dave Filoni, who's currently at Lucasfilm. There's problems with both of them. One, with Kevin Feige, I'll give you this with Kevin Feige. Marvel has not been good ever since Endgame because they tried to go in a different direction, throw out D-list characters and put them on the level of the A-list characters of the Avengers. But be mindful of this. Before Iron Man was a thing, the Iron Man movie, Iron Man was more or less a B-list hero anyway. He wasn't as popular as, like, let's say Spider-Man or the X-Men. But because of the movies, because of Robert Downey Jr.'s performance, it elevated that character. And then because of that character being elevated, all the other characters that they did movies for were elevated as well. Plus, there was a crafted story, a 10-year story that got crafted from the first Iron Man all the way to Avengers Endgame. And things were introduced, nuggets were given out as far as hints to further the story. And when you got to Endgame, it was the ending. That was it. The story had been told. There was nothing more to be told from the Marvel Universe. But considering that Disney is a corporation, they want to keep the cash cow going. But the problem is, you had characters, you were trying to introduce characters that nobody had any idea about, and storylines and ideology that you were pushing in these movies that kind of pushed people away. It also didn't help the streaming. Throwing everything on your streaming service, and as far as like TV shows, it got to a point to where watching a Marvel movie was a chore. Because in order to watch, let's take, for example, the Marvels. In order to kind of know where you're at the Marvels, you would have had to seen Captain Marvel, the Ms. Marvel TV show, the WandaVision TV show, Secret Invasion. Probably had to go ahead and watch the last two Avengers movies just to catch up with the Marvels. So the thing with watching a Marvel movie is you pretty much have to do a lot of homework so you can understand what's going on, especially the TV shows, because they reference stuff in the TV shows that nobody watched. So, but Kevin Feige is a huge Star Wars fan. So if he would have been in, if he would have gotten into charge on that, there could be a possibility that oh man, sorry. The bugs are starting to show themselves. As I sit here and try to, man, I totally missed them. I'm flicking them. It's a tiny bug. But since Kevin Feige's more of a Star Wars fan, he would probably have a little bit more care and probably put a lot more focus on what the fans would really like about that. But he hasn't been able to prove himself with Marvel because he ended up taking over the Marvel stuff right around the time I want to say Captain Marvel came out. So he's only been in charge of Marvel for like fully in charge of Marvel for a short period of time. King says, well, first of all, King says Saturday Night Nash. Maybe that'll be that we could use that name. And King says, well, technically, Spider-Man was originally a B-lister because the publisher kept rejecting Stan Lee's idea to make him a main character. I'm talking about in the time now, in the more recent years. Spider-Man is more of an A-list character now. Pretty much, it's taken years for him to get to that position. But Iron Man was never in that position until recently. And then let's talk about the other person that was that people were thinking that would take over, and that's Dave Filoni. There is a lot of hype with Dave Filoni, and I think it is pretty much unwarranted hype. Yes, he did some great things with the Clone Wars, but the thing about Clone Wars was he had George Lucas to rein him in on a lot of his ideas. Now he doesn't have George Lucas reining in. Kathleen Kennedy does not care. And he is wanting to push his characters like Ahsoka. And he wants to have everything making Ahsoka like this very important character in the Star Wars universe when in fact she's not. If what should have happened was when it got to the end of the Clone Wars TV series, Ahsoka should have died. But he had to keep her going and make her more of an important character than she actually was. And then there's also Rebels, and then The Mandalorian, which he's going to be making he's going to have some movies coming out. Because Dave Filoni supposedly has a trilogy of movies that are supposed to be the Mandoverse that's going to involve all of these characters. Now, we've got Grogu, The Mandalorian and Grogu coming out, which I believe is being directed by oh god, I can't think of his name. See, this is my brain rot right here. Oh, we lost picture. Look at that. We lost the picture. Let's see if we can get it back. Oh, shocker upon shocker. We lost picture. I don't know how we lost the picture. Everything is fine. Oh, no, it's probably the computer went. Dirt. It's a secondary computer. There we go. Sorry, that was on me. That was on me. Um, let's see. God, I can never remember his name. Let me see if I can remember it. Jon Favreau. God, telling you, brain does not work sometimes. Brain does not work sometimes. But he's also a Star Wars fan. But I do remember, I don't think he knows everything about Star Wars because this goes back to a video that I saw with, I think it's Sam Whitaker. He was the voice of Darth Maul. And correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but he told a story where he was recording some lines for Clone Wars, and he was new. He was new to it. He had just gotten hired, and there was a scene where the actor that was doing Anakin gave this really emotional speech to his mother. I guess talking to him in through the Force or something. And the line, there was a line was, "I'm married now. I wish you could have met. I wish you could meet my wife." So they got done recording and everything, and Sam knew that they had already met. They already met in Phantom Menace, and so he kind of raises his hand, and they're like, "Well, what is this? What does the new guy want? What's the new guy want?" And he said, "Well, we got to redo that." And Dave Filoni's like, "Well, why do we have to redo that?" He's like, um, um, "Padme met Shmi has already met Shmi. They met on Tatooine during the Phantom Menace, and apparently he sunk his hat down and had his hands in his on his head. Um, so and the comment to Sam was, "I've never seen somebody out geek Dave Filoni." So to me, I think Dave Filoni is a Star Wars fan, but if he's going to run it, he's got to at least know all the details of the universe, even though this is Disney and they've pretty much want to wipe all the old Star Wars, George Lucas Star Wars, all that mythology away. He at least, either he needs to know the mythology of Star Wars, or he needs to hire somebody to remind him of the mythology of Star Wars. But those are the two choices right there. But as far as Kathleen Kennedy goes, this has been going on for years. This has been going on for years. Is she staying? Is she leaving? Then this got out, and then of course there was a response. Let me see if I can pull that down a little bit. Let's see. All right, well, I got to resize that, and it's not letting me resize it. Hold on, can I move stuff around? It's not letting me do anything. All right, well, I had to fix that later. I need to resize that anyway. So, well, anyway, I'll just read this off to you. And she had an interview, and I forget who the interview was, but this is basically the statement they got from it. "Truth is, I want to say loud and clear, I am not retiring. I will never retire from movies. I will die making movies. That is not the first thing. That is the first thing that's important to say. I am not retiring. What's happening at Lucasfilm is I have been talking for quite some time with both Bob and Alan about an eventual secession might look like. We have an amazing bench of people here. We have every intention on making an announcement months or a year down the road. We are in lockstep as to what is going to be. And I am continuing. I'm producing the Mandalorian movie right now. I'm also producing Sean Levy's movie, which is after that. So I'm continuing to stay at Lucasfilm and looking very thoughtfully with Bob and Alan as who's stepping in. So that is all underway. And we have every right to make that announcement when we want to make it. So let's kind of break this down a little bit. I am not retiring. I will never retire from movies. That doesn't say from Lucasfilm. So she could be retired from Lucasfilm. She could be done with that. She's just saying she's not going to retire from movies. So she could step away from Lucasfilm, but she can still be a producer on other films. So that's one thing. What is happening at Lucasfilm, I have been talking quite some time with Bob and Alan on what an eventual secession might look like. So you can read this a couple of ways. I think Bob Iger and Alan, I can't remember his last name, I don't know who it is, but we'll just say Bob Iger. I think they want to replace her with somebody fresh and new. And I think Kathleen Kennedy wants to put basically a person that she has groomed and crafted specifically for replacing her, like one of her insiders, as her replacement. So there's probably a butting of heads right there. I'm thinking on the Bob Iger side of things. Bob is probably thinking, what can we do to make this thing profitable again? We need somebody that's going to have their head in the Star Wars. Kathleen Kennedy wants somebody to get in there and continue on her idea, the way she runs things with her ideology. Now, as far as like she's producing the Mandalorian movie and the Sean Levy movie, even if she leaves Lucasfilm, she still will have producer credits on those two movies. They can't take that away from her. So she'll still have producing credits on those two movies. So she can still leave and still have hands in those movies. She could step down tomorrow and still stay there to have her hands producing both of those movies. What is happening, I think, is it got leaked. It got leaked that she was stepping away probably at the end of the year, or maybe a little bit longer after that. It got out early. She's not controlling the narrative on that. She wanted to control the narrative on when she was leaving. And I think that was something that was probably going to be announced later on, because she was probably going to get some lifetime achievement awards or special achievement awards, special honors for her work in Hollywood. And then after all of that, announce, hey, I'm retiring from Lucasfilm, or I'm stepping away from Lucasfilm. So that way she can get all of her accolades in, basically puff her chest out of how important she was. I mean, and to be fair, Kathleen Kennedy, as far as a producer goes, all of her success has been relied on other people, whether it's been her husband Frank Marshall, George Lucas, Steven Spielberg. She's never, as far as I've seen, she's never had her sole name attached to anything in the past other than Star Wars. And we can kind of see the mess that Star Wars has gotten into. And it's under Kathleen Kennedy's leadership. But this information got out. She did an interview. She's basically trying to damage control the situation, which kind of leads to this over here. CNN, Kathleen Kennedy, source revealed. News network reportedly fed PR spin from Kennedy's publishers and reported as news. So basically, what they're saying here is the source, as far as saying that she wasn't retired, was from a PR firm. I mean, we can kind of look at this a little bit, because I'll be honest with you, I just pulled this up, and they reported it to CNN. Let's see. I'm trying to blaze through this, but sorry. I apologize. I should have been able to read this, but basically the PR firm thing. Well, you know what? Let's just ignore all that. Let's just ignore this, because I didn't read anything on this. So I don't want to comment on this if I didn't read all the way on it, because it's not making sense to me. But we'll go based on the other stuff that we have. Let's see. King's saying names focusing on host person at night. Okay, so you give me suggestions on coming up with a name. I appreciate that, King. I appreciate that. Stockton says she can step away from everything, and we're going to talk about that. So whether she's leaving or not, we don't know. I absolutely have no idea. But there's also a new rumor that's kind of come up, and that might tie into everything on this. And this is a rumor. Take it as a pinch of salt. A rumor from Chris Gore at Film Threat. He's been getting some insider information that Disney has been trying to sell Star Wars for 7 months but nobody will buy it. So, we're going to kind of look at this article real quick because this really kind of ties into Kathleen Kennedy. A new rumor has surfaced from film threats Chris Gore and Alan Ng, suggested that Disney has been quietly looking to sell Star Wars for the past 7 months, but reportedly there's not been any takers. Gore, who has industry connections outside the media sphere, claims a trusted source in the financial sector informed him that Disney has been putting out feelers to gauge interest in selling Star Wars or potentially Lucasfilm as a whole. However, despite months of searching, the entertainment giant has allegedly failed to secure an interested buyer. Star Wars is a damaged brand. It is beyond damaged. It is to the point now that there's no way you can turn Star Wars around. It would have to take an entire generation to turn Star Wars around. And if I would think how Disney's approaching this, they're probably trying to sell Star Wars or Lucasfilm for way more than it's worth. It was originally purchased for $4 billion. I wouldn't be surprised that they would be trying to sell it for something in the range of 20 to 30 billion. But with Hollywood kind of struggling as it is, who would be a buyer for Star Wars or Lucasfilm as a whole? Well, I mean, the only company I could think that would buy it would be Apple. Apple is the only company that has the funds to buy Lucasfilm or just buy Star Wars. I mean, if it were me, I couldn't but just buy Star Wars. I'd have to buy all of Lucasfilms because there's plenty of IPs within Lucasfilm that you could do stuff with, like Indiana Jones, Willow. I mean, there's a whole list of IPs. Plus, if you're getting the technology side of Lucasfilm, I would want that too, because I would want the Skywalker sound. I'd want the THX technology. I would want all of that. But what are they going to be able to do with it? I know there was a possibility. I mean, there was rumor a while, like last year, that Paramount was trying to offload Star Trek, and nobody wanted Star Trek. Star Trek, as well as Star Wars, they're both damaged brands. Star Trek has pretty much aged out. So they have aged out, and then they've tried to turn Star Trek into this new kind of hip millennial thing with like everything's got to be dark and gritty, and they curse and a lot of social messaging and visually it's dark with a lot of lens flare, and the characters don't act like Star Trek characters anymore. They act more like they have to have quips and one-liners, and they don't act like in the hierarchy that you would in a military type of operation. And they do stuff like that animated series, was it Lower Decks, which was just basically trying to copy Rick and Morty, and it just didn't work. Star Wars at this point is not worth any of the value, and nobody wants to take it on, because you pretty much, if you take on Star Wars, you've got to shelve it. You got to shelve Star Wars. If you're going to make any money off of Star Wars, you're going to have to make it off of the classic characters, Luke, Han, and Leia. And you're just going to have to pretty much rely on that as far as like any kind of revenue off of merchandising. And this company would have to pretty much distance themselves from anything Disney would make. Another thing is Disney has got a lot of real estate in their parks just for Star Wars, but I'm pretty sure they'd probably make a deal. Of course, if it were me, the deal would be, all right, you can continue to do Star Wars at your theme parks, but it's going to be original Star Wars, none of your characters, and this Galaxy's Edge, it's Tatooine. You got to change it to Tatooine. But, I mean, this kind of goes hand in hand. If they're already sending feelers out, if they're allegedly sending feelers out for a sale on Star Wars, This is a result of the leadership from Kathleen Kennedy, because Kathleen Kennedy has devalued Star Wars, Lucasfilm as a whole, to the point to where nobody really cares about it. And this is kind of really tough coming from me, a Star Wars fan, because I've been with Star Wars since the very beginning, since I was a kid, the original trilogy. And I went to the theaters with my parents and saw every movie. Every time they re-released it in the theaters during that time, we would go and see Star Wars, Empire, Return of the Jedi. It was a big deal whenever they showed it on TV. I mean, it was an event when they showed it on TV. And you had to make time to sit there and make sure that you were there to watch this, because they didn't show it on TV all the time like they do now. It was a special event, especially on the pay channels, because you when you found out Star Wars was going to be on HBO, oh, you made sure that you find out the night that they were showing it, which was usually a Saturday night. And if they did any replays during that month, you caught it as much as you can, because you never know when was the next time you were going to see Star Wars again. And it took and it was a while before they released it on videotape. And then I kind of followed everything through. And then when Return of the Jedi came out, that was, and it was done. That was it. It kind of slowly faded away. Until about the 90s, when they started bringing it back with the books like Shadows of the Empire. And then they brought back the Tory line with the the Power of the Force Power of the Force figures, which they, of course, they bumped all the characters up with steroids. They looked weird to me, but at that point I was just pretty much, I love Star Wars, but I wasn't as hardcore going to go in and buy everything, read all the books and all that. It was one of those things with me, like if I go walk into let's say a KB Toys or a Toys R Us, it'd be like, you know what? This is nice. Let me look at the Star Wars stuff. I remember all that. That was actually pretty cool. And then I just pretty much went on with my life just as well. And then, a few years down the road, hey, we got an announcement. George Lucas is going to make the prequels. Because he had always said there's going to be 9 movies in total. And we were just waiting. When are these movies going to come out? When are these movies going to be coming out? And then they announced The Phantom Menace. And I was super excited about that because, hey, this is the first new Star Wars movie in like, oh God, geez, like an over a decade, 2 decades. And, I stood in line, went to midnight launches. Midnight showings. I got the adaptation of the comic book, read everything, read the spoilers and all that. I even went and bought the figures when they released them on their special nights, when they used to do special figure release events once a year. Did all that. Now, granted, we'll say, the prequels were not like earth-shattering. They progressed the story. They kind of led everything up to the original movies. And then it kind of went quiet. The merchandising was still there. I would buy a figure or memorabilia every once in a while. But I still had that love for Star Wars, no matter what. I still loved Star Wars. And then there was the announcement that Disney was going to buy Lucasfilm. The excitement got ramped up again. What is Disney going to do with Star Wars? Because Lucas kind of like got berated from the fans with the prequels. And he did Clone Wars. I watched it in passing. At that point, I just didn't really kind of follow it until one day on Netflix I just decided to watch the whole thing, and I thought it was pretty good. Telling that stuff in between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. And the Disney announcement made me excited. It made a lot of people excited. What is Disney going to do with Star Wars. We can get some new movies. We can probably finally get some TV shows, maybe some new animated series. The stuff that George had always talked about. And will George still have some involvement with it? You know, giving maybe he like got some plans for those final 3 movies that he had always talked about. And then I kind of figured that something was wrong when I thought something was wrong when I saw the first set of merchandise that came out with the Disney logo on the packaging. I thought, okay, there's something about that's wrong. Something just didn't seem right to me. But I just went along. I went along with it, and there was an overload. Like there was a lot of Star Wars merchandise, but once they got with Disney, it exploded. It exploded. And then the sequel movies came out, and I saw The Force Awakens. I was excited. Oh, we get to see Han, Luke, and Chewie and Leia again. All maybe Lando will be in it. And then there was a lot of questions about these new characters. Like, is Finn like the next Jedi potential? Is he Lando Calrissian's son? What about Luke's kids? You know, are we going to see them from like the expanded universe? What about Han and Leia's kids? Um, there was a big excitement about everything. And then we saw the movie. I mean, it was okay. It had its problems. I mean, we got Harrison Ford as the deadbeat dad that left Leia and abandoned his son, which okay, we assumed there was going to be a happy ending after Return of the Jedi. And then Luke was nowhere to be seen through the entire film because he had went and fucked off somewhere. And they were just, and this was all a thing about finding the location of Luke Skywalker. Then we had another Death Star because, hey, you know what? Third time's the charm with the Death Star, right? And Finn, we thought was this, very important character that was going to be the main character in all 3 films because that's the way he was portrayed, right? He was going to be the next Jedi. Nope, turned out he was like a janitor on the new Death Star. Which I've always had a question about that. If he was a janitor or a maintenance worker, essentially a janitor, why was he part of a troop at the very beginning of the movie? Part of a squad. I mean, did he get promoted? Did he do a good job cleaning the toilets so they promoted him to be on the battlefield and escorted Kylo Ren? I didn't get all that. And then, we're like, all right, well, let's see what the next movie was gonna be, and that was, Last Jedi. Last Jedi, that was it. It killed it for me. I watched Last Jedi. I sat in the theater. I was excited for it. Watched it, and the whole time I was sitting like this and like, what is going on with this movie? I have no idea what is going on with this. Why are we going to Casino Planet and freeing horses? Why is it that you're one of your lead soldiers is being being left out of the conversation of a plan? Why did Luke go fuck off on a distant planet and drink green milk from a teat of this thing? I had a lot of questions about that, and I walked out and I'm like, okay. And then I got other people's opinions on it, and then that's when it sparked the debate. At that point, there was pro Disney Star Wars fans against Lucas Star Wars fans, and butting heads. The Lucas fans just hated it, and this is not anything that that had shown the tradition of Star Wars, and then the Disney Star Wars fans just loved it because Rey's the chosen one. Rey cannot do any wrong. That was another thing. Rey Palpatine could do no wrong. And then it sparked people getting in it with the fans. And Disney basically calling the fans all kinds of names, downplaying them. We don't want you as Star Wars fans. And then we started seeing the true nature of Kathleen Kennedy with his Force is female nonsense. Because essentially at the end of the day, Kathleen Kennedy turned a boys brand that was made for everybody and then turned it into a girls brand that wasn't made for, that nobody wanted. So I was kind of down on Star Wars, heard that there was going to be another one, and I didn't even bother to watch it. I just couldn't do it. I ended up watching it from a website that had pirated it, basically with a camcorder in a theater in Russia. And it just did nothing for me. I just did not care, because the whole purpose of that movie was to fix the crap that happened in The Last Jedi. I had no interest in that. No interest in it at all. And then I was just pretty much like, you know what? Maybe it's time to just walk away from Star Wars. Just walk away from it. And then The Mandalorian got announced. And I got excited again. But I was cautiously excited. Watched the first episode, the first season of Mandalorian, loved it. Absolutely loved it. But I was still cautious about everything else Star Wars. Like, I didn't go see Rogue One. I didn't see Solo. I had to see those kind of independently by other means. Rogue One, I thought it was a pretty good movie. Solo, yeah, it was all right. I mean, it wasn't great. There was just some weird stuff going on in that one. And then we got to season 2 of The Mandalorian. It wasn't as good as the first season, but it ended on a very high note with Luke Skywalker. And you know what? That's it. You could have ended it right there. They didn't. They did a season 3, and the season 3 was crap. It was garbage. It just wasn't good. And then at that point, I just pretty much like, I can't do this. I have absolutely zero interest in Star Wars. I mean, I'll talk about it. It's okay to talk about it. Oh, and by the way, if you love Disney Star Wars, cool. I'm not going to tell you not to like something. If you like it, watch it, support it. The problem is, the majority is not supporting it. If you check the revenue from those 3 Star Wars movies, it steadily goes down with each movie. If you check the ratings on the recent Star Wars TV shows, barely anybody is watching it. There's not a whole lot of things on Disney Plus that people are watching anyway. And then you get into the last thing they had, the Skeleton Crew, which I heard was actually not a bad little kiddie show. But because of the issues with the Acolyte, that translated over to the Skeleton Crew. So at this point, it's gotten to where Star Wars, in my opinion, it's dead. I mean, it's dead to me. I could care less about Star Wars. If something pops up, like let's say like when they make another Star Wars Jedi game, like the ones that EA are doing. I mean, I enjoyed those 2 because they seem pretty independent from the rest of the Star Wars crap. I'll play that. Those I enjoy. But this Mandalorian Grogu movie, I got no interest in seeing that. This supposed Rey movie they're working on, got no interest in seeing that. I didn't see any of the other Star Wars TV shows, and I'm not going to watch any of the future ones that they're going to make. I don't even know what they've got coming out as far as new Star Wars stuff. Because the thing is, they keep announcing all these projects, and they never follow through on them. Because Lucasfilm does not know what to do. It's just, we're going to throw stuff out there. We're not going to hire people that have a love for Star Wars, because the problem is when you find somebody that is on a project like that and they are focused and they want to show their love for the property they're directing or producing or show running from, it means they're going to end up fighting an executive who has no idea, and they just want to throw stuff out there just to get watch time, and this will sell a couple extra dolls, but you can ask how that's going for Ollie's, because they're getting all the unsold Marvel and Star Wars merchandise. I mean, at the end of the day, when it comes back to Kathleen Kennedy, we're just going to have to wait and see, because I have no idea if if she's actually leaving, or because she has said in the past she wants to leave when she gets a success. And at this rate, she won't get a success. So this is going to be one of those let's wait and see kind of things. Let's wait and see how this let's see how this goes. So, this will be something ongoing. I'm going to keep an eye on it. Everybody else will keep an eye on it. So, yeah. So we'll see how that's going to be on that. I'm pretty sure that entire time I sounded like this.
I'm retarded?
Yeah, that's basically that's how I pretty much I sounded off of that. All right, well let's I talked enough about that. Let's move on. Let's go on to some other news from this week. And this comes to absolutely no surprise. I mean, you can file this under what else is going to happen to Ubisoft? I mean, what else could possibly happen to Ubisoft? So it was announced earlier. Black market leak. Black market leak with spoilers and gameplay streams hitting the internet as Ubisoft faces another setback with Assassin's Creed Shadows. They cannot win for losing. I'm going to tell you this right now. Ubisoft has had nothing but issues ever since they announced this game. From the very beginning, it has been issue after issue after issue, and they cannot bounce back with it. Starting with the introduction as Yasuke as a main character in the game. The fact that they tried to say that he was historically accurate in his role in Japan, and they based that off of an author living in Japan, an American author who basically turns out he fabricated the entire history just to sell books. And then showing gameplay of Yasuke going in and basically going in and decimating the local Japanese people to hip hop music. And then most recently having him going in and destroying a shrine, which is frowned upon in Japan because they take huge offense to that. And then using Chinese architecture for like the architecture in a Japanese game, and other stuff, and other stuff. It's just they cannot win for losing. And in the meantime, you've got the media going in and just playing basically crowd control with all this stuff, just saying, oh yeah, none of this is going to happen. It's going to be a great game, all of this stuff. But this past week, leaked physical copies got out there. So this is from Park Place. So we'll go over this article real quick. A major Assassin's Creed Shadows leak has put physical copies of the games in players' hands in a development that has Ubisoft scrambling. So physical copy distribution. Let me talk about that real quick because I used to work for GameStop. So in a retail store, we would typically get a game up to a week early prior to release. So what we would do is we would get the games in, we would check them into our inventory, and then we would store them somewhere with signage, everything possible, counted at every day saying that this cannot be released, not to be shown, not to be sold prior to this date. Or prior to our midnight launch. And with these games, we had to be very careful. With new releases, we had to be very careful to make sure our inventory stayed at the original levels. That means daily counting of the product. Even in some cases, depending on how big the title was, we had to count it multiple times during the day. But we would only get these that early. I have never, to my knowledge, ever gotten a title physically earlier than maybe 2 weeks prior. 2 weeks, and that was rare in itself. 2 weeks prior. So when you see like physical copy leaks, this could only happen in one or two ways at this point, because they haven't even started shipping these out to the retailers. or the retailers' warehouses. It depends on where it's going to go. It's either going to go right from their distribution to the retailer's distribution, and their distribution would get it out to the stores, or they would ship directly to the stores. I think in GameStop's case, they ship to the DC, and then the DC would split it up and ship it to us. Would they have it this early? It's possible, but I think they would get it a week before we would get it. So the breakdown is either going to be in one or two places. I think it's going to be at the manufacturing plant, wherever the games were manufactured, or it was at Ubisoft's distribution. Or we could say it was an actual retailer, so make that three places. So that's how it got out. As far as it getting out from like on a retail level, it's not possible. It's not possible. Or hell, it could have hit an Amazon warehouse early. We don't know. So we'll continue on here. Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed Shadows has suffered what could be the most devastating blow yet. Physical copies of the game have leaked nearly a month before the official release on March 20th, 2025. The leak has led to widespread spoilers, unauthorized gameplay streams, black market sales, dealing with a potential catastrophic hit to Ubisoft's already precarious financial standing. The game was already had a lot of backlash to it. Now, would it sell? Yeah, I think it's going to sell. It's going to sell, no doubt about it, because you got a lot of normies out there that just see a new Assassin's Creed game. They don't know what's going on with, they're not on the internet like some of us are. So we know what's going on with all the controversy. The normies don't. But will it sell to the projections they're going to set? That's the real question right there, because this game's already been delayed 3 times. And usually in Ubisoft typical fashion with a lot of these games, they tend to come out for a little while. I've always noticed this. They come out, they sell okay, then they stop selling, then they throw it on deep discounts just to get more out of there. And Ubisoft's problem with a lot of their games, and I saw this a lot with Far Cry. The mechanics on the games are always the same. The only difference is the stories and the characters. So if you played if you played Far Cry 3, you played 4, you played 5, you played 6. They're all the same. Assassin's Creed, they did change it up a little bit, but I think they ended up with Mirage going back to the old formula. Explore a town, assassinate, do missions, climb towers, and unlock parts of the map. Now, let's talk about the leaked copies that fled the market. We'll talk about the leaked copies. Despite any security protocols, physical copies of Assassin's Creed Shadows have found their way into players' hands across the U.S. Users on social media and Reddit have flaunted their early access, sharing images of box copies, installation screens, even live gameplay. One user uploaded a photo holding a PS5 copy of the game, while another ex-user, Danny Stevens, now locked, claimed that they have purchased the game via Facebook Marketplace, posting the image of the box in the installation process. While these posts were swiftly taken down, they were quickly archived and reshared across various platforms. I'm not going to show anything other than, not that. I just let loose some spoilers. That is indeed a physical copy of Assassin's Creed Shadows. And before you say it's fake, it could be fake. It's a possibility. There's some telltale signs on there, like the glare on the box. This looks like this might be a Canadian version because it's got the dual language on there. There's even lines. If you notice on the casing itself, right around the shadows, there's like lines on there. That you tend to get some of those lines on your casings from the shrink wrap. So, I mean, it's to me, that's legit. Am I going to show any gameplay footage and all that? Absolutely not. You guys are adults. You can go on Imager. You can go on Reddit. because yes, they get taken down, they just pop up somewhere else. And there's been complaints about there's been complaints about bugs, bugs and glitches. Now, I did notice one of the photos that it had an installation off the disk of 85. I want to say 85 gigs. I could be wrong on that. Typically, these type of games are going to be more in the 100 plus. So the games you always get are not complete. They're not the finished game. There's always a day one patch. So when you get that day one patch, that usually has the complete game on there. So I'm not surprised by that. But they're sitting there complaining. People are like showing off, the glitches and bugs. You're gonna get that. You're absolutely gonna get that. So let me see if I've got their response. I think I had it. Let me go over here. I'm gonna go wide here for a second. See if I made sure I had their response, because they ended up responding to this. I don't know if it's on that article. Let me see. It might be on that article I was looking at. Yeah, give me 1 second. I could have sworn. I could have sworn I had that up. Let me pull that up. Give me just a second. With their actual response. Yeah, here we go. We got it right here. So Ubisoft had a response for that. So it reads as such. Hello, everyone. We are aware players have accessed Assassin's Creed Shadows ahead of its official release. The development team is still working on patches to prepare the experience for launch. Any footage shared online does not represent the final quality of the game. Leaks are unfortunate and can diminish the excitement for players. We kindly ask you not to spoil the experience for others. Thank you for our community and already taking steps to protect everyone from spoilers. Stay in the shadows, avoid the spoilers, keep an eye on our channel for more official surprises in the coming weeks. March 20th will be here soon enough. So my question is there enough on the disc to where you could actually get through the game? Is there enough on the disc to where plot points, like specific important plot points, are shown? And is it the only thing that the patches are going to do is just kind of clean it up and make it playable? That would be my question on that. But the news on it kind of died down really quickly because, as the news cycle goes during the week, and this was announced earlier in the week, things come up, things get announced, and then this just kind of, it's still going to be talked about, but it just kind of goes to the back burner. It just kind of goes right now. So right now, it's not really being talked about. There's a lot of other things being talked about. So at the end of the day, is Assassin's Creed Shadows, regardless of all the controversy that's going on with it, will it sell? Yes. I think it'll sell. Like I said, there's going to be normies out there that have no idea what's going on with this. It will sell. Will it meet their expectations? Yes. No, I'm sorry. It will not meet their sales expectations. I would not be surprised if it does. It'll probably do, if not 1 million, it'll do close to 1 million. I'm sure that their expectations will be 3 to 4 million. Because remember, Ubisoft, here's the thing, guys. Ubisoft is riding on this game. Everything depends on this game being a success for Ubisoft. If this game is not a success, that's going to be it for them. They're either going to be bought out by a company like NetEase, or they're going to have to liquidate their IPs to stay in business. That means all of their stuff is going to be on the table. That means Far Cry's on the table, Raven Rabbids, Just Dance, Rayman, any other IPs, Tom Clancy, all the time. You know, the Tom Clancy, which that's what they own. They own the Tom Clancy license. That'll be on the table. I mean, it's going to be, once this game comes out, it's going to be really interesting to see what's going to happen to Ubisoft after that, depending on how the results are going to be for the game. I mean, hell, they could probably sell Assassin's Creed's off. It'd be funny if a Japanese company picked it up and then they made a American Assassin's Creed and they started to like, ha 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 ha, we're going to be disrespectful to America like you were to, no, better yet, France. It's going to have to be France because Ubisoft's out of France. What if we're disrespectful to France? You know, that's payback. But, you know, they wouldn't do anything like that, would they? All right. So moving on. There was a big surprise on an announcement this week on the PlayStation Plus side. I was shocked. I was very shocked by this. So Sony announced through PlayStation Plus their March monthly games. I mean, look at that lineup. Look at that lineup right there. Sonic Colors, Ultimate, a game that I did not like. If you want to watch that, check my archives here on the YouTube page. I believe I have a playlist of Sonic Colors Ultimate. King's got a question here. How does a physical copy get leaked? I'll explain that again, King. So it did not at this early of a time. It's a month out, right? So working at GameStop, we would get new releases a week, 2 weeks at the most early to sit in the back room, get ready for sale. At this point, it should either be at a DC for a retailer, or it's still sitting at the printing press, or it's at the publisher's distribution center. My guess is it somehow got loose either at the printing press, at the distribution for Ubisoft, if they do distribution that way, or a retailer distribution center's got it. So that could be GameStop, Target, Walmart. It could be anybody. Because all they have to do is grab a handful. Hell, for all we know, it could have fell off a truck. You know, like in those old mobster movies where they're sitting there waiting for the truck full of cigarettes to drive by so they can hijack it. For all we know, that could have happened. But I think the most likely story, it was probably either the printing press for the discs, the company that does printing press for the discs, or somebody got a hold of it at one of the distribution centers for one of the retailers. So that's how I think it happened. But and thank you for the question there, King. But back to this. So yeah, so we got that Sonic Colors, the Ninja Turtles Cowabunga collection. Every Ninja Turtle game from the old systems and even the arcade. Just that alone is worth it, because that is a ton of games on there. And it's Ninja Turtles. I mean, how can you not love Ninja Turtles? But the big game, the big important game on PlayStation Plus for March, Dragon Age: The Veilguard. A game that was supposed to be this huge deal during the winter. It was supposed to be the best of the Dragon Age games. And then it just turned into an absolute disaster. How is it on the disaster? Well, let's take a look at Steam charts. At their peak, 3 months ago, at their peak, almost 90,000 concurrent players. Now, keep in mind, this is Steam. This is just on Steam. This is not counting PlayStation. This is not counting Xbox. Their 24-hour peak is 2,000. Right now, actually, let's refresh this page because I haven't refreshed it in a while. It's a little up. It's a little up at almost 2,000. It's a little up, but we are in the weekend. So, of course, there's going to be more people playing right now. How does this compare to something in the RPG realm that's also a more recent release? Kingdom Come Deliverance. Kingdom Come Deliverance has had its own fair share of controversy, but its peak is almost 300,000, and that was 21 days ago, compared to the 90,000 4 months ago. Their all-time 24-hour peak, 117,000. Dragon Age, 3,000. Players playing right now, we've already established almost 2,000. There's still 70,000 people playing Kingdom Come Deliverance. As gameplay, story, all that matters with a lot of these games. Why is this important that it's on PlayStation Plus? Well, it kind of shows how the game is pretty much struggled, and for the most part, you could say it failed in sales. EA has even admitted that Dragon Age did not meet expectations. It is rare. It is super rare that a game like this is on PlayStation Plus this fast soon after release. I have never seen something go this fast. Now, there's been some day ones on there. That's been mostly through Sony, and it's usually been something like a free-to-play game, a always-on service, but nothing to like an actual story, narrative-driven single-player game. I've never seen it before. I've never actually seen it before, and a lot of the actual thing, and the thing a lot of people need to realize when Dragon Age came out, with the player base that was on there, and the way it sold, a lot of people that were playing on there got the game free from purchasing like graphics cards, codes that got sent out to reviewers. The vast majority of people that played this got the code somehow or another, and it could not resonate with any of the fans of Dragon Age because it turned a lot of people off. A lot of characters that were in the older games that were in this games were not the same characters that were in those games. And of course, they pushed the ideology. It started off when the character creator came out and they made a big deal that, oh, you get top surgery scars in this. And your pronouns. Okay. How does that make sense in a fantasy game? In a game where you're in a world of magic? Because I have asked this question. I get the same look whenever time I've asked this question. If you're in a fantasy world and you've got magic is in abundance. You can magic anything. If you're a man in a fantasy world, couldn't you just magic yourself and turn yourself into a woman? How does like top surgery scars, how does that make sense in a fantasy world? Much like with D&D now, where they're putting, ramps in the dungeons, and so that way we can be more inclusive for the people that have disabilities and are in wheelchairs and stuff. In a world of magic, couldn't you like magic you some working legs? I mean, this is supposed to be escapism. You're supposed to be able to like get away from the real world. And I'm pretty sure disabled people don't want to be constantly reminded that they have a disability. They want to pretend or role play that they can do stuff that they can't physically do in real life. Make that make sense for me. Let's see. King's in the chats here. Rockstar didn't give a squat when they shut down Red Dead Redemption and Midnight Club for GTA 5. Nope, they don't. You if it ain't profitable, you move on to the next thing. So back to this. The Dragon Age. Why is it on PlayStation Plus? I am thinking EA is trying to recoup as much money as possible on this game. So Sony, they probably struck a deal with Sony to get it onto PlayStation Plus. I would not be surprised there will be a deal soon for Game Pass because they're needing to recoup as much as they can. EA's not going anywhere. EA's bread and butter is not single player video games. It's not Dragon Age. It's not Command and Conquer. It's not The Sims. Well, I take that back. Sims probably does make a good bit of change for them. But their big bread and butter overall, Madden, Football Club, and college football. Those are their bread and butter. So, they're not going to go out of business because as long as they've got those three, they are going to make bukus of bucks. But when they put money into a project like this, they're going to have to recoup it. They can't do the whole old way that Microsoft used to have about the Xbox. Well, we're making so much money on everything else. If we take a loss on Xbox systems, that's okay. This is just a pet project for us anyway. Same thing with Sony. Oh, we're doing so well with TVs and cameras that the PlayStation ain't doing so hot. It's okay. That's just a pet project, which in reality, the PlayStation is Sony's most profitable IP. So I would not be surprised. Dragon's Age the Veilguard is a lesson in a lot of things that they can learn from. And you know what? They're not going to learn from it. Hopefully they will because, a lot of the people that worked on this, hopefully all the good people are being shifted over to Mass Effect. And Mass Effect has already they've got to bounce back from from Mass Effect, I guess 4. They've got to bounce back from that because that game was horrible. I've never seen a game go to $5 so fast in my life as the last Mass Effect game. And this is a lesson for the industry as a whole. Because this goes into another discussion. When you hire non-qualified people to make these games, you're going to suffer in it. You've got to have writers who are, and this goes back to my Star Wars discussion. You've got to have writers that are invested in the lore. They're invested in the IP, so that way they can give you the proper care with these characters. Don't put in a director or a head writer which they only want to use they only want to use the IP to push their message or push their story. A story about them when that's not about them. It's about these characters. Don't insult the fans because they didn't like it. Thank the fans. Thank you for giving our game give your game a chance. Thank you for giving our game a chance. We'll go back to the drawing board, and we'll take your feedback and we'll use it to make improvements on the game, or we'll use your feedback on our next game, so that way we can make everybody happy. Don't hire people that are not qualified to make games. And I mean coding, character design, all that stuff. Because when you're just hiring people for check boxes and not qualifications, everything's going to suffer. And now there's nothing wrong with hiring people that don't have experience, but you also need to have people to mentor them to get better. The only way you improve is if you are with somebody that can give you the experience to improve. I'm going to use a sports analogy here because I heard this from somebody. The only way a last place team is going to get better is if you put them in with the first place team. Because that can show them what they need to do to get better. Oh, that King says, let's see what King's got to say in the chat. Magic isn't free, so not everyone can be healed. It's in all the anime with magic. Yeah, I'm talking about King, I'm talking about in general. In general. My question is, it's there. you have access to it, you should be able to do it. And King says, remember PlayStation Plus requires to pay to play tons of online multiplayer to recoup the money lost by Rockstar lawsuit. I don't know if there was a law. I don't know anything about a Rockstar lawsuit. That's news to me. But I know Sony right now, they've had a couple of flops here lately. Concord. So right now they're having to go in and kind of restructure so they can go at a better direction going forward. I mean, to give you a kind of indication on that, they pretty much they fired the CEO, their American CEO, and now they're going back to a Japanese CEO. I would not be surprised if they moved the PlayStation headquarters back to Japan and start doing things the old Japan way. But yeah, so when is Dragon Age the Veilguard going to be available on PlayStation Plus? That will be this Tuesday on the 4th. I will tell you this. You want to play it or don't want to play it? That's up to you. Would I say download these and put the? No, I'm sorry. Would I say put these in your libraries? Sure. Why the hell not? Because you never know. You might want to play Dragon Age the Veilguard and see how it really is and get your own opinion on it. I'm very curious about streaming it myself, but I don't know if I want to devote that kind of time to it. Because, again, I do stupid things with my money. And, this is one of them. And I may get tempted one day to try it out just to see, is it as bad as I know it's as bad as they all say it is. I know it's definitely all as bad as they say it is. Alrighty, so I think it's about time I take a little bit of a break. I got to use the bathroom real quick. I will be back and we will talk about, I don't know where I am I should really have this stuff written down, but, we will, we'll come back and we'll, talk about one other thing or stuff. I'm just really sounding like this.
I'm retarded?
So yeah, we'll come back with whatever the next. I'll collect myself. So yeah, just give me a second. I'll be right back.
In its entirety by Media Arts International. Welcome to another edition of Amazing Discoveries. Are you ready to jazz up your jeans, put sizzle in your sweaters, or even personalize that project and make dazzling decorations for less than $3? Well, now you can. It's simple and it's fun. And the best part is you don't have to be an artist, but you get all the credit. Thanks to today's exciting Amazing Discovery, The Perfect Punch. Now here's the host of Amazing Discoveries, Mike Levy.
Welcome. We have a great show for you. You know, I know one thing that we all have in common, and that is that we love to receive compliments. And you know, probably the first thing someone notices about you when they meet you for the first time, and hopefully they compliment you on, is what you're wearing. And when you're wearing that special piece of clothing that says you, and someone notices, doesn't that make you feel great? Yeah. But you know, wearing a unique design has a bit of a price tag. Come here, I'll show you what I mean. Look at this Paris original design. Now, I hate to say it, but to me, it looks like a black sweatshirt with fuzzy things on it. But when you take a look at the price tag, you know it's a Paris design. It retailed for $159. Now, I mean, in today's economy, you have to have a friend that works in the clothing business to afford something like that. And look at some of the fashions our audience members are wearing. Look at this beautiful pattern here that Anne's wearing. What an exquisite design. And Jason, you can tell Jason's definitely a basketball lover. You got your name up there. And Margot, this is definitely in fashion. All the fish on here. Pretty, isn't that nice? Colorful. And Holly, you can tell Holly's into kitties. Look at the kitty cat. I mean, these look like expensive designs, right? But what if I told you that because of today's amazing discovery called Perfect Punch, come here, look again, This design only cost about $3 to make. And this design, well, Jason's whole design, less than $3 to make worth of materials. And Margot, well, all the fish put together, about $3. Holly's kitty cat, with all the little fur and fuzz like that, $2. All made with Perfect Punch. Are you ready to find how we made all these creations and see what else you can make with Perfect Punch? Me too. Let's welcome back our Queen of Crafts, Carol Smith. Carol, this is exciting. Only a couple of dollars. I'm ready.
Mike, you haven't seen anything yet. Come on, let me show you some more projects you can make with Perfect Punch. Look at these plain jeans.
Oh, what a
Perfect
beautiful...
Punch magic.
They're all stylish. Now, what did this cost for all those designs like this?
Less than $3.
Less than $3?
And Mike, look at this beautiful picture frame for family portraits.
Look at the detail. This will be in the family forever.
Perfect Punch is great for wearables. Look at this beautiful design for big girls.
Now, that's sure to get a lot of compliments, right?
And this cute little design for little girls.
Oh, great baby gift. This is great.
And Mike, how about these kittens in the baby's room?
Look at these little kitties. Look, you can feel the fur. Oh, this is beautiful. How precious. I love it.
Mike, look how colorful these parrots are. Wouldn't they be great in the family room?
Look how the colors pop out. I mean, it's three-dimensional. You can almost see the birds fly. I'm ready. Okay, I got to learn how to do this. I'm ready. You ready? Let's go. I'm ready.
Mike, first, I have to get you to calm down because Perfect Punch is a very relaxing hobby.
I'm relaxed. This is relaxed.
Oh, okay.
And you say anyone can do this, right?
Yes.
Okay, now, we got a special Amazing Discoveries challenge just for you, Carol Smith. Now, because you say anyone can do it and it's relaxing, we've set up a great challenge. Our challenge actually takes place in Ian's living room. Take it away, Ian.
Thanks, Mike. Nice to be here once again. Mike, I've got 4 of the studio audience. The Perfect Punch system, we've all got it, and it's so easy, Mike. Look at the excitement here. They can't wait. I've shown them what to do. Dead easy. Can we start? Then we'll have results quicker.
Go ahead, start. We'll check back with you throughout the show and see how you're doing. It looks like the blind leading the blind. All right, I'm ready. We're ready. Let's learn how to do this.
Okay, Mike, this is our first project.
Wait. Excuse me. Hey, we're on the air. No. This is amazing. We're on the air, right? Aren't you Guy Ditmars, the trainer?
Well, yes, this is Amazing Discoveries, isn't
Right,
it?
but we're on the air. Right now, we're on the air. What are you doing here?
Well, we heard this show's on the Perfect Punch.
The Perfect Punch. No. Excuse me. The Perfect Punch, it's a crafts kit, not a punching thing. Wait a second. This is John Bray. You're the top amateur heavyweight in the United States. What are you doing here?
Mike, always watch Amazing Discoveries.
Would you like to have a front row seat and watch the rest of the show?
No,
I should
Mike,
say a ringside.
Hey, I'm back. I appreciate everybody sticking it out with me. And yeah, I did. I collected my thoughts. I went through my notes, and yeah, there was a couple of things I forgot that I was going to talk about that I just remembered. So I appreciate you sticking out with me with my bad takes and my terrible speech patterns. We will continue on. I did want to show you this first because there was a game announced this week, and I am super excited about it. Because, again, this year, I said this on my Twitch and Kick streams, I am being really picky on the games that are coming out this year. Really picky. But there was an announcement for this game earlier in the week that's got me super excited. I want to show y'all. All right, we've well established that I'm retarded. We've well established that. But yeah, this game was announced earlier in the week, and yeah, I'm just gonna play it.
Peggy 16.
Terminator 2D, no fate. I gotta wait till September, and it's gonna be physical. It's gonna be physical. And there's just stuff in this trailer that gives you that kind of nostalgic, like, this is exactly like how it would look in an arcade. Like, that is exactly like this opening sequence right here. This is something you would see on an arcade splash screen. That kind of animation, that kind of look. I mean, the stuff like this, some animation. I mean, right there, that is, I mean, and the whole gameplay thing kind of reminds me of a Contra game. I mean, something super excited, and it's simple. There's nothing in there that could be considered modern day, or for a modern day audience. It's just a straight up kind of an arcade Contra type of shooter. I'm pretty sure there's multiple, you play as the multiple characters. There's different game types. I mean, because we already saw shooting in there. We saw beat 'em up. We saw an appropriately naked Arnold. I mean, this is the kind of stuff to be excited about. This is really exciting. And it's going to be physical. And that's what I'm going to love. It's going to actually be physical. If a game like this, is this something this is exciting for you? I would say go ahead and put your pre-order down. I mean, typically I wouldn't say pre-order a game like this, but can't rely on your GameStop anymore. You'd be surprised they even get the game that you pre-ordered in. And I don't see this. I would be surprised if this shows up at your Targets. Walmart's, if they get it, you're not going to get it the day it comes out. Amazon, your other retailers like that, online retailers, that's going to be your place to go. So, you know what? I'm going to check. I'm going to check and see if I can pre-order it. So we're going to do a little off-screen thing right now. Nope. You know, for somebody that wears glasses, such as myself, I can't see shit. It's time for a new prescription. I don't know how to spell either. Well, I was just bringing up the DVDs. Let me try to expand on this more. It is not up for pre-order on Amazon yet, so that's something to definitely be keeping an eye on. I mean, that's just super exciting there. I mean, that is a game. I mean, there hasn't been a good Terminator game. Well, I heard Resistance is actually pretty good because it was made by the same studio that made RoboCop, and I loved RoboCop. So I may have to give that one a try on stream soon enough. I mean, got the backlog here I got to go through. This is the year of the backlog. So if you're watching my streams on Twitch and Kick, this is the year of the backlog. Got one on March 2nd that we're going to be playing. All right, so let's kind of go into a few more things, and then we will wrap it up. So one of the others, I guess you would say, big stories of the week is from WB Games and Monolith. So Monolith, WB, Warner Brothers announced this week that they were shutting down a couple of studios. One of them being Monolith. Monolith has had a pretty good history with games. One of the things that they made, I believe they made the Fear series, and they made the Shadows of Mordor games, which had a really cool game engine called the Nemesis system. And what the Nemesis system did, essentially, it gave your specific enemies, personality traits. And to the point to where if you had started something with a character, they would remember specific details when you got with them again. King in the chat says, I preferred the NES Terminator with the gun controller. The NES, the Terminator arcade game was pretty good. It didn't translate very well to the systems, but it was pretty good. So this is from That Park Place again, going back to That Park Place. And this is the story of WB Games and Monolith Productions. And part of their and part of the closures had to do with these Wonder Woman game that was announced, I think, a year ago. They shut it down. They shut down the Wonder Woman game. And I believe Monolith was working on that. But Warner Brothers has had issues for years, and I'll explain that in a little bit. But let's go back to this Park Place article. A few studios have experienced a more tumultuous journey in recent years than Monolith Productions. In October 2017, they released the second game in their Middle-earth series. This was a major critical and commercial success that sold over 10 million copies, a feat comparable to a blockbuster sweeping the box office. One might have expected them to continue capitalizing on the Lord of the Rings franchise, but Monolith had other aspirations. All right, so we'll continue on here. Instead, they embarked on an original IP codenamed Legacy, designed to elevate their innovative and patented by WB Games Nemesis systems with new narrative depth. It held promise until Warner Brothers terminated it in April 21st, setting up a chain of upheaval. Let's see. And the cancellation proved devastating. Monolith's entire leadership team, including studio head Kevin Stevens, resigned, and over 50 developers departed shortly after. Yet from the exodus emerged an unexpected development. Many of those talents joined forces with Electronic Arts, establishing Cliffhanger Games in 2023. Their current project is a single-player Black Panther game, may yet carry echoes of Monolith's procedural storytelling legacy. If this is the same Black Panther game that I have heard about, that game's already have issues right out of the gate. It's already got issues because of their director. So this is pretty typical with a lot of studios you hear now. They're working on a game, things come up that are controversial, and then you come to find out any old team members or people that worked on the previous game that was super successful, or a franchise that made it super successful, have all jumped ship. And it could be a number of reasons why they're leaving. Probably direction from executives. It could be all this stuff with ideologies from being, with people that are woke or DEI, or they wanted to go and do their own thing. Maybe work with a publisher that's not quite so demanding. The problem with Warner Brothers is, and I can speak to this for sure, again, because I was kind of around when all this happened. Warner Brothers has had financial troubles for years, and they got scooped up by AT&T. I worked for AT&T at the time when they scooped them up, because AT&T was trying to expand the television market, because they had already had DirecTV, and then they wanted to kind of own a franchise, own a company that had a lot of IPs that they can kind of work into DirecTV. But the problem is AT&T had absolutely no idea how to run a studio. They had some weird ideas when it came to Warner Brothers. One of them was they were going to make Warner Brothers stations specifically like any of the Warner Brothers stuff. So like for example, TBS, TNT, all the Turner stations. They were going to make all of those networks exclusive to DirecTV. Like you couldn't get them anywhere else but DirecTV. Problem with that is your normal cable carriers got into an uproar about that, and that killed that right there. Another thing was at the height of the Game of Thrones popularity, the CEO of AT&T, he wanted a directive to go forward with content, and he wanted to start with Game of Thrones. And I forget which season he wanted to start with. I think it was season 6. It was either season 5 or 6. But he was trying to get, and it's Richard Stanky, that's his name. He wanted to start filming the Game of Thrones episodes vertically. So that way people could watch it on their phones, because he was wanting people to watch it through the DirecTV app, or at the time HBO HBO, I think it was just HBO Plus or whatever it was called. It was before it became HBO Max. He wanted more people to watch it on their phones. So he wanted that entire season to be filmed vertically. That would mean that, and not show it on HBO. But better heads prevailed, and plus he was informed that, hey, when people watch movies on their phones, they turn the phone sideways, or the phone will automatically. And there was already a precedence that, and at that time, that, you know, that's how you watch your TV shows and your movies. And the whole watching vertical thing was starting to take off. Around that time. So AT&T could not do anything with Warner Brothers, so they pretty much pawned it off on Discovery. They merged. The CEO, David Zaslav, was this guy that was just, he was a hardcore. He loved to cut stuff, cut corners wherever he could. He was really big. He's really big on reality television, and because it's cheap to make. And anything that he's done recently, it's still in the it's still a struggle for Warner Brothers. I mean, their stock is, a share is like under $10, but I know once they announced the closing of these studios, it shot up a little bit. So we will continue on. Let's see, right here. We'll skip all of this timeline stuff, and we'll go right to the modern day. On February 25th, 2025, Warner Brothers Games delivered the final blow, announcing the closure of Monolith Productions alongside First Player Games and Warner Brothers Games San Diego. Wonder Woman was abandoned, and 130 Seattle-based employees lost their positions. It sucks. It sucks when anybody loses their job, especially when it's somebody of talent. But I would say they'll probably land on their feet, hopefully sooner than later. But well, you know what? I have more confidence now that they will, with all the changes that are happening in the wind. More qualified people need to be on these projects. And the people that are not qualified need to get the experience they need so they can work on these bigger projects. Work on something small. Developers reportedly learned of the decision that Tuesday, mere hours before the public did, including a 31-year legacy starting. Startling abruptness. Warner Brothers justified the move as a strategic pivot towards established franchises like Harry Potter, Mortal Kombat, a pattern of prioritizing safety over innovation, also evident in the struggles of Rocksteady's infamous Justice League disaster, which faltered a live service title in 2024, lost the company $200 million, possibly more. This reflects a broader industry trend with over 25,000 gaming jobs lost since 2023, as publishers increasingly favor proven IP over untested ventures. The Hollywood effect is getting into video games. But with video games, trusted IPs, you have more of a guaranteed success of sales. Now, going back to Harry Potter and Mortal Kombat in this article. Harry Potter, the Hogwarts Legacy, did gangbusters. Hogwarts Legacy 2 is already in the books to be made. If it's being developed right now. it will do gangbusters. I mean, it will do a lot. So that's a guarantee right there. Mortal Kombat, on the other hand, um, they did their time reboot with Mortal Kombat 1. It's been a mixed bag. People liked it. People have hated it. I don't know how well it sold, but I'm pretty sure it did pretty well enough if Warner Brothers wants to continue it. But at this point, I think it's a little bit. It's about time for Injustice 3, don't you think? Now, Mortal Kombat 1 problem with Mortal Kombat, Sweet Baby Inc. involvement, but that's something to discuss at another time. But this is a trend. This is a trend that's been going on in the industry for the last couple of years. Is it fully, and I'll say this again, and I'll ask this question again, is it fully due to woke practices? That's only part of it. I think the vast majority of it is the bloat that they hired from the pandemic. People were sitting at home. They had nothing to do. We're going to overhire and we're going to make a ton of games so people sitting at home have something to do. Now, as far as like staying within proven IPs, the problem with that is just like in Hollywood, because that's what they've been depending on the last couple of years. You oversaturate the market, and then people are going to lose interest. You've got to throw in some untested ventures in there, but you got to be smart about it. Every game you throw out there cannot be a live a live service game. Every game that you put out there does not need to have the budget of 200 to 300 million. You can put out something with a small budget, with a small team, and test it out. If it's good, people will play it. Again, Nintendo is a proven factor in that. Nintendo does not care about graphics. They care about gameplay. Their games do not look like $300 million were spent on it. I would pretty much bet that a Nintendo game on average is under $100 million to produce. Make it fun. People will go right to it. Do not try to nickel and dime every customer with loot boxes, skins, battle passes, anything like that. Shooters for or anything like that for a free to play revenue based game. You can't depend on that, and they're starting to see that. Concord was a good example. With Warner Brothers, it was Multiverses. The concept was sound, a Smash Brothers clone. People kind of like the Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. But with the Warner Brothers, I mean, the concept was sound, but the character IPs just did not draw to anybody. The only characters in there that pretty much you could, draw to a game like that would be the DC characters. But, you throw in Scooby-Doo, you're throwing in Powerpuff Girls. It was just a hodgepodge. It just didn't make sense. Nickelodeon's didn't make sense either, and it was janky as hell, but it resonated with the kids. I think it was mostly because of SpongeBob and Ninja Turtles, because who wouldn't want to see SpongeBob and Ninja Turtles slap each other around, But we've got another studio, a long-standing studio, nothing but a memory now. And the aftermath on all of this is the Nemesis system. That's the one question we got to ask about the Nemesis system. Warner Brothers has the patent on the Nemesis system until 2036. If Warner Brothers was smart and they wanted to make some money off of it, they should start licensing the Nemesis system. License the hell out of it. Because they've only used it in 2 games. I believe they were going to use it in Wonder Woman. License it out to everybody. Make something off of it. But I would assume they're just going to throw it in the vault until the patent goes up. And then it's just going to get lost in the shuffle. And then some other studio, or probably one of these former developers that work for Monolith, they're going to get in the ear of the publisher, or their company's going to be big enough to where they could buy the Nemesis patent out from under Warner Brothers, because Warner Brothers will probably forget they even had it, and it'll be taken right under from them in over 10 years. You can turn a silver lining into this, license it out, and start making some kind of revenue off of it. It's better than nothing. It is excuse me, it is better than nothing. But yeah, I mean, if you had some really good memories of Monolith, especially with like Fear, Shadows of Mordor, yeah, man, throw it in the chat. I know I played a little bit of Shadows of Mordor and the Fear, and I played a good bit of the Fear games. I love the Fear games. Fear games are great, but it wasn't something I jumped back to, because at the time I was a big Halo guy and Call of Duty guy. That's always what got my attention. But you could always hit back on that if you want to. Let's see. Let me jump back over here. I got one more article we're gonna take a look at. And let me see if I can find it. My planning is just garbage. Oh, yeah. So we're going to end up on this. And this did go with another story that I wanted to talk about with GTA. And I guess we can kind of put it together. But, oh, and I still got to work on that transition. Rockstar. And this is, you looking at this, the title of this article, this is just ridiculous, because it makes no sense to me. Rockstar is rumored, keep an eye on rumored, take it with a grain of salt, to have partnerships with Taylor Swift, Fortnite, Roblox, and more for GTA 6. Fans fear the once defiant studio has sold out to Hollywood. The original creators of Grand Theft Auto have all left Rockstar. If they were still there, I'm pretty sure they would probably have some objections to this. But Take-Two, the owners of Rockstar, they're probably trying to get as much money as they can out of this. Now, how does this make sense to me? Just going by the article alone. Let's just look at the article. Taylor Swift. Okay. All right. So we can assume Taylor Swift music will be on the radio in the game. I mean, that's a little too mainstream, I think, for a Grand Theft Auto game. Whatever. They want to put it on there, they can put it on there. If it's something that, because that's what's great about the radio stations in the GTA games. You can change the station. You don't have to listen to the Taylor Swift only channel. You can go right there. I always preferred the talk radio stations, because I thought those were hilarious. But Fortnite and Roblox? How does that explain to me how that makes sense? GTA, an M-rated game, a sandbox game where you are in a city where the basis of the game is you can go in and do whatever you want in the game. You can go in, you can drive around, you can create chaos, you can pick up a woman of the night, have a little fun, and then get your money back if you choose to. You can spawn in a tank and just blow up the entire city and have all the cops come after you, and you keep going at them until you can't keep going at them anymore. The crude jokes. What was complained about in the old days, going in and shooting cops, or practically shooting anybody. A very adult-oriented game. But the problem with something like this, I keep using that word, the problem. Games like this are popular with kids, but you don't want to make it obvious that you're making these games for kids. I'd always get this cringe on my face because I had to follow the rules at GameStop. You cannot sell an M-rated game to anybody under the age of 18 or 16. or 17. It was one of those ages. It changed every day that I was there. And when the kid would come up, you get a little pleasure out of it too. Kid would come up with that copy of GTA, and you have to say, "Hey, is your mom here? Is your dad here? Got to go get them because I can't sell you this game. I have to get their permission." And it was always a 50-50. Either the parents will be like, "Oh hell no, you're not playing no M-rated game. Put it back and find something T or E." Or, "That's fine, whatever. We let them play whatever you want." And the best part was where we had to actually describe the ESRB rating to them. So like when grandma came in and wanted to buy it for their grandkid, you have to ask, "How old are you buying this person for?" "Oh, they're 10. Well, it lets you know this game is rated M for mature for X, Y, and Z. And then I remember one time grandmother called her daughter and like, "Do you let your kids play this game? Do you know what's in it?" "Oh, it's just a video game. It's just a video. Do you actually watch them play this game?" Oh, it was so great, seeing the disappointment on the kids' faces. But then after a while, you just don't give a shit. You just don't care. Because then you get enough of the parents is like, we just let them play whatever. Pretty much translation, it shuts the kids up so we can do whatever we want. We're not bothered by them. Just they'll leave us alone. But now they're marketing Fortnite and Roblox. I would consider more kid friendly games. So now you're going to be marketing GTA specifically to kids. Again, tell me how that makes sense. Because the game is going to sell no matter what. Kids are going to play it no matter what. For them to have like partnerships in those two games, tell me how that makes sense. Now, I don't know too much about Roblox, but I know Fortnite. And the only thing that I can think that they're going to do in Fortnite is they're probably going to have character skins that are modeled after the old Grand Theft Auto characters. Probably use some of the weapons. Hell, with that engine now, you could practically make your own game. So they may make a pretend Grand Theft Auto map to play in Fortnite. I haven't played Fortnite in a while, so I don't know what the hell they're doing in there. All I know is there's a racing game on there, there's a Lego thing, and you could play Rock Band on there. That's all I know. Fans fear the Once Defiant studio has sold out to Hollywood. Not a surprise. Not a surprise. When keep members, and this goes back to what I was saying about Star Wars earlier, as far as like getting people that are invested in the IP. When those key people leave, that means the executives of the publisher or whatever, or the studio, they can do whatever they want. When they were there, they probably had executives coming to those original creators at some point saying, "Hey, why don't we do this why don't we have some tie-ins for this? Why don't we have a tie-in with Grand Theft Auto on an episode of SpongeBob? The kids love SpongeBob. What about Ninja Turtles? We could have them playing Grand Theft Auto." And they probably came back and like, "Absolutely not. We're not catering this game to kids. We know they play it, but we're not going to outright cater this game or market this game to kids." They're out of the picture. Because in the executive's mind, they just want as much money as possible. They don't want some of the money. They want all of the money. They want all of the money that has ever been created. They want the global GDP to be in their bank accounts. And they will do whatever it has to take by hook or by crook. GTA 6 is going to sell like crazy when it comes out. They don't have to worry about that. This thing is a guarantee a 1 million copy seller on day one. Hell, it may get 10 million in day one. We don't know. But it's kind of ridiculous that you're going to go to kid-friendly brands to advertise an M-rated game. The only other M-rated M-rated game IP that I know of that can be almost as close to Grand Theft Auto is Call of Duty. And I have never heard Activision working with Fortnite or Roblox. Well, I don't think they would anyway. I think Activision had a thing against Epic anyway, because Fortnite's considered competition. But it's Microsoft now, so Microsoft may work a partnership in there, but because they did it with Halo. Not saying that the M-rated integration is not anything new to Fortnite. It's just Grand Theft Auto is the extreme of the extreme. It just does not make any sense to me. But I think I just pretty much just contradicted myself. So, again, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about because I'm pretty much...
I'm retarded?
I'm pretty much retarded. I am pretty much retarded. Okay, so, yeah, I think that's a good stopping point for the night because I'm just rambling and I'm probably making no sense. But again, I like doing this. I will improve as I go. So I appreciate all of that. So let me do like I do on the Kicking YouTube, Kicking Twitter, Twitch, whatever. God, I'm losing it. Doing the plugs. Hey, don't forget to follow me on Kick. Subscribe to me on Twitch. Subscribe to me on youtube.com/@NashThunderclap. I'm on all the socials. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, also known as X. It's where you get all my updates. Everything is Nash Thunderclap. Everybody here on YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe. It helps me with this algorithm, or so I've been told. All right. If things are going without a hitch, I will be back on YouTube next Friday with a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. Hopefully better organized, better talking points. Maybe a little bit more time to prepare. But in the meantime, before then, I will be on Kick and Twitch throughout the week. I will continue to play Black Myth Wukong, which I'm in the middle of right now. And I've got another game series to get started next week as well. Not sure what I'm going to be doing, but I will be back on March 2nd, which is tomorrow, and that's a Sunday, with a one-shot game. I'm assuming it's going to be one-shot because when I looked at it on a walkthrough, and I couldn't believe the playtime on this was 1 hour. I'm pretty sure it's been edited, but I'm going to give myself 3 hours to play this game. But I will announce that on the socials tomorrow. So if you want to just have a little bit fun, watch me be terrible at video games, be a little bit more coherent, that's the place to be on that. Okay, so I would like to thank everybody that was in the chat. I appreciate you being in there. Appreciate you giving me any likes. Appreciate you sticking it out with me. Trying to weave through the way I talk, the way I kind of form sentences and all that stuff. Because God, this is bottom of the barrel and I'm terrible. But I like doing it. But yes, I appreciate you giving me a chance. I really do. And, hopefully as the more I do these, hopefully the better I get. And hopefully all of this will look better too. But anyway, that's it for now. I appreciate everybody watching again. We will see you next time. Take it easy. Have a good night. Bye for now. We'll see you on Kick and Twitch.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.